Welcome back, Blade fans. This old sword with you with something quite special today, I feel. I continue a series of reviews on Y-Start, CH, SRM, some of what you might call the off-brands, but a number of these knife companies are OEM manufacturers for other knives that are much more well known. So we have to respect that. And the workmanship here, I feel, is really high quality and up there. I have got an extensive collection of Tucson knives. I would say this is right in there with the quality of Tucson knives. And if you haven't collected Tucson knives, well, that's a whole other story. Okay, so this is called the CH-101 Spear. And yeah, it's got sort of a spear. It's got what looks kind of like a bird's face if you use your imagination with that elongated hole and that down point. I don't know what you'd call that, kind of a modified spear point or a spear point drop point. You got me. One of the outstanding features of this knife, besides the beautiful stonewashed, or not stonewashed, I'd call it bead blasted titanium handle, is the titanium insert that has been anodized. Check out the coloring on that. Isn't that beautiful? And complemented by a nice, interesting design on the pivot. There's your marking, spear and CH knife. And it is from S35VN. Pardon a little bit of oil I put on there. And yeah, with these kinds of knives, anything that's highly anodized, over time that is going to darken and change and whatnot. Anodization doesn't really hold up when it's kind of a rainbow effect like this. But nonetheless, let's appreciate what's here because they set it up to be a very usable knife. I mean, look at that. We've got a jimped finger choil, and we've got jimping on the back of the blade, which is quite aggressive, wide-spaced, and sharp. Although I'm not really hurting myself by rubbing my finger, but it's an absolute doorstop as far as sliding goes. You're not going to go anywhere, particularly if you choke up like this. You can hold it standard, the thumb on the back. Let me back out a little. All right? And it is a larger knife. A normal hold on it sets you back a bit on the handle, but I still got some left over. But if I choke up like this, even with or without the thumb, I got lots left over, about an inch or more. But interesting bird's beak looking blade. Seems to come through fairly sharp, although I tried some paper cutting, didn't work out too well, so it's a good candidate for KME or work sharp or what have you. But let's take a closer look at some of the details here. Got a full backspacer of titanium, heavily milled or jimped, whatever you'd like to call that pattern. Got a sizable lanyard slot. Nice clip that follows the contour of the knife. And the ergos on this are nice because we've got that handle finger choil there and just a swoop for the remaining three fingers. And just nicely bead blasted, even blade. Had to clean it up just a little bit with some flits. There was some staining from oil. It was fairly oil laden out of the box. Let's talk about the action. It is not drop shut, but it's hydraulic smooth, and when it hits the bottom there's like a thud, not a ping or anything like that, but it's as if those bearings are under an even constant pressure, which is nice. Notice there are internal stop pins on this knife. So we have nothing back here. Everything's locking up right there inside. So we've got the hole, and yes, you can spidey flick it, middle finger flick it, if you don't want to have to pay money to Spyderco for using the name. Handle is completely milled out on the sides of those inserts. See straight through, and you could see straight through there if it weren't for the clip. I think that hole does come through the other side. But for some of these knives, the measurements aren't always accurate that they might give or might not give online. So as I do sometimes, my own measurements. So we've got an 8 3/4 inch overall knife. And if we go to the handle, I'm going to call it a 3.9 inch blade or 3.85, somewhere in that vicinity. Got a cutting edge because of the choil of 3 3/4. And let's bring out the calipers here. And what do we set up for? Inches. So let's do the handle right out to that insert. So 0.54, but it is contoured, and those are kind of a rounded insert. If we go to millimeters, we got a pretty thick blade stock. I'm going to call it 4 millimeters. And finally, let's put it on the scale. Just over 4 ounces. We're going to call it a 4-ounce knife. 4.085, which is really nice for a knife that's pushing on 9 inches. Flipper tab is jimped and angled forward, so you're not going to do a push button on this. It's going to be light switch all the way. It's kind of angled and looking like a light switch for that matter. We'll compare it to a few other knives for size. Let's bring out the Benchmade Freak. And it is a bit longer by at least a ½ inch from the Freak. Griptilian. And it's a good inch longer than the Griptilian. And how about the Rat 1? Always got to put the Rat 1 out there. The yardstick by which all other large knives are measured, at least around here. And it just ever so slightly edges out the Rat 1. What if we change the perspective a little bit to make it more fair? Yeah, it's I'd say maybe close to a ½ inch longer. Let's take another cruise around here so you can fully appreciate what we've got. Again, that anodized titanium inset or insert is really amazing. So we're talking about 168 here from White Mountain Knives, less a 10% discount if you use my Old Sword discount code. So that'll bring it down a bit, take about 17 bucks or so off of the price. Do I think it's worth it? Yes. Could you get like a Kaiser or something for that range? Yeah, but not this feature rich and ergonomic at the same time. So it's both kind of an art knife. High-on materials, S35VN, titanium and titanium anodized insert. You've got a nice over travel stop here for the lock bar. It stops right there. Hardened steel insert, of course. It's just a butter smooth action too. I mean, they just did an incredible job on the action. Doesn't have to be drop shut, but it's darn close. And then again, this knife's only really about 12 hours old in my pocket, and oiled it a little bit, but the more this gets fidgeted with, the smoother it's going to get, and you can see it's darn near there. But there's constant tension. Some knives will just drop and you got to get your fingers out of the way. This one is under kind of a pneumatic tension, I call it. Really, really nice. Just feature rich. So yes, I'd say it's worth it for the price. You're not getting that name brand that makes things collectible, you know, Spyderco, Benchmade, Kaiser, Wee, Civivi, etc. But it's a hell of a nice knife, and you can't really fault it on the materials or the design. Well, I'm going to leave you, and let me know what you think. Give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. This Old Sword, signing out with the CH Spear.